Blade Runner didn't hit the box office when it debuted in 1982, but its influence only grew stronger with time. This movie shaped the way we imagine the future, the gritty, complex, and unsettlingly real. Now it stands as a cult masterpiece, and today we're exploring 15 fascinating facts behind this sci-fi classic. Fact 1. It wasn't a hit at first. People in 1982 weren't ready for Blade Runner, and it slipped under their radar. The movie cost around $30 million to make, but barely made its money back. Critics were split because some thought it was too slow, too weird, or too dark compared to the fun blockbusters of the time. And to make things worse, it opened just weeks after E.T., which was bright, happy, and breaking records. Guess which one audiences picked? For a while, it seemed like Blade Runner would be forgotten. But then came VHS tapes, laserdiscs, and late-night TV airings. Bit by bit, more people discovered its rainy streets, strange future, and deep ideas. It wasn't just sci-fi fans, artists, game designers, architects, and even musicians started drawing inspiration from it. It's proof that sometimes the world isn't ready for genius right away. Blade Runner didn't just survive, it grew into a cult classic that helped shape the way we imagine the future. And speaking of the future, the wild story behind where this movie came from might surprise you. Fact 2, based on a Philip K. Dick novel. Now tell me, what if your favorite movie started out as a super weird, kinda wild book? Blade Runner didn't just pop into existence, it's actually based on a 1968 novel with one of the strangest titles ever, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? It's written by science fiction legend Philip K. Dick. And here's the thing, the book is even stranger than that title. In the novel, the world is full of odd ideas, like fake animals that cost a fortune, mood-changing machines, and an offbeat, almost surreal tone. But when Ridley Scott signed on to direct the film, he had a different vision. He literally stripped away a lot of the quirky stuff and leaned into something darker and moodier. Instead of a strange comedy drama, the movie became a futuristic detective story, full of smoky streets, glowing neon, and characters you're never sure you can trust. It wasn't just about asking deep questions, it looked like no other movie of its time. That bold change helped turn Blade Runner into the stylish, legendary film we know today. Fact 3. The look was way ahead of its time. And speaking of style, the movie's futuristic look wasn't just ahead of its time, it was light years away. In 1982, people got their first glimpse of this dark future. Its city looked like nothing anyone had ever seen before. It wasn't shiny and clean like the future in other movies. It was dark, crowded, and dripping with neon. Every street felt alive, buzzing with noise, rain, and mystery. But why are there so many signs in Japanese? Could real cities ever look this wild? The answer is in Ridley Scott's vision. He imagined a future where cultures had mixed together, technology had taken over, and cities never slept. The skyline was crammed with massive buildings that made you feel small, and every shadow hinted at a story. This look inspired a whole generation of creators. Games like Cyberpunk 2077, movies like The Fifth Element, and anime like Ghost in the Shell all borrowed from that rainy, neon-soaked style. Most of it was built without computers. The magic behind those streets came from something much smaller, literally. Next up, we'll see how tiny models made this giant city feel so real you could almost walk in it. Fact 4. A used future aesthetic. Back in the early 80s, most sci-fi movies imagined the future as sparkling clean, full of shiny robots and perfect cities. Blade Runner threw that idea out the window. Its Los Angeles wasn't spotless, but grimy, overcrowded, and dripping with smoke. Every wall was stained and every street felt worn down. So still, why did the director make everything look old and broken? Look, Ridley Scott wanted the future to feel believable, not like a glossy magazine cover. He imagined a city that had been lived in for decades, where technology aged just like everything else. He borrowed deep shadows from old detective films and layered them with the glowing kanji signs of Japanese city streets. And the result? Well, a world that felt like it had history, not just a foundation. This used future look completely changed how filmmakers imagined tomorrow. Suddenly, other movies, TV shows, and even video games started copying that style. Viewers didn't want a spotless dream. They wanted a future that felt alive, messy, and real. Fact 5. Miniatures made the megacity. Okay, would you believe a giant city was built on a table? Well, I know it's hard to believe. In the 80s, there was no CGI magic to build an entire futuristic city, so the Blade Runner team got seriously creative. Instead of designing it on a computer, they built Los Angeles on a table. The art department crafted tiny skyscrapers and neon signs, some only a few feet tall, packed with tiny windows, antennas, and smoke vents. Then, they filmed these models with special slow-motion cameras. That trick made the lights flicker naturally and gave every shot the weight of a real massive skyline. Think about this. Those endless streets, buzzing billboards and flying cars, most of it was actually miniature sets, wires, and lights. You'd never know it unless someone told you. Each shot was handmade, piece by piece, so the city didn't just look real, it felt real. Even today, filmmakers still study Blade Runner's model work. There's something about that handcrafted style that makes the future look more believable than any amount of CGI. Fact 6. The Fifth Element connection. Wait a second. Did Blade Runner secretly send its designs to another famous sci-fi movie? If you've seen The Fifth Element, you might have had déjà vu because of those towering cities stacked to the clouds, glowing neon signs on every level, and characters rocking trench coats in a world that looks both old and futuristic at the same time. That's not a coincidence. Luc Besson, the director of The Fifth Element, and legendary fashion designer Jean-Paul Gaultier both took huge inspiration from Blade Runner. They loved its retro detective and a neon future vibe, a mix of 1940s film noir style with a chaotic, lived-in city in constant motion. So next time you see Bruce Willis weaving through skyscrapers in a flying cab, remember, Blade Runner was the legend. Even the hero's wild outfits in The Fifth Element can be traced back to Deckard's iconic trench coat and gritty streetwear layers. Fact 7. The famous Tears and Rain speech was improvised. Imagine changing the ending of a movie right there on the set and making it unforgettable. It's the middle of the night, rain is pouring down in sheets, and Rutger Hauer, playing the replicant Roy Batty, is holding his script. His character is about to die. Instead of just delivering the written lines, Rutger quietly decides to change them. He rewrites part of the speech himself, adding words that feel more human, more raw. That's how we got the legendary Tears and Rain moment. Roy talks about the incredible things he's seen, moments that will vanish forever, like tears and rain. It's like pure poetry. But how often does an actor get to transform a scene into something timeless? Almost never. On set, the crew fell silent. No one expected it, and yet it became one of the most quoted speeches in sci-fi history. And if that wasn't enough to make Blade Runner stand out, the music behind it took the whole movie to another level. Fact 8. Vangelis' synth score became legendary. The music in Blade Runner is just as important as its visuals. Composer Vangelis created the soundtrack almost entirely with synthesizers, electronic instruments that were still rare in movies at the time. His music blends soft, drifting notes with deep, echoing tones, matching the rain, neon lights, and quiet moments of the film. Every track adds to the atmosphere. Without it, Blade Runner wouldn't feel as mysterious, emotional, or alive. The score doesn't just sit in the background, it becomes part of the city itself, filling every corner with a mix of beauty and unease. Since its release, the soundtrack has inspired generations of musicians and filmmakers. It helped define the sound of the cyberpunk genre and sparked the rise of synthwave music decades later. Many artists still study and recreate Vangelis' work, proving how timeless it is. Fact 9. 7 different cuts exist. Blade Runner isn't just one movie, it's actually 7. Over the years, the film has been re-released with changes big and small. Some cuts added more violence or action, others swapped out entire scenes, and a few even changed the ending completely. Theatrical audiences saw a version with a voiceover and a happier ending. International audiences got a slightly grittier cut. Later came the director's cut, removing the narration and adding new, mysterious moments, like Deckard's dream about a unicorn. Then, in 2007, Ridley Scott released the final cut, carefully polished with the effects fixed and scenes restored exactly how he wanted. Each version shifts the tone and meaning of the story. A single added scene can make Deckard feel like a totally different character. Fans still debate which one is right, but the truth is, every cut gives you a new way to see the same world. It's rare for a film to evolve this much without losing its soul, and that's part of what keeps Blade Runner alive more than 40 years later. Fact 10. It influenced tech design in the real world. The glow of Blade Runner didn't stay trapped on a movie screen, it leaked into real life. Suddenly, designers, architects, and even car makers started chasing that same vibe. Neon piled on neon, dashboards glowing like alien cockpits, and streets so alive at night they almost looked like another planet. Take Tokyo's Shibuya crossing. Yeah, the same spot you've seen in Jujutsu Kaisen when curses and sorcerers throw down. The giant screens stacked high, endless lights, and crowds that never stop moving. Doesn't it feel like stepping straight into Blade Runner? The architects admitted they borrowed a little sci-fi mood when shaping real cities. The future we walk through every single day, our gadgets, our skylines, even the glow of computer screens, carries Blade Runner's fingerprints all over it. The movie didn't just imagine a future, it built one. Fact 11. No daylight in Los Angeles. We've seen the endless rain, flickering neon, and streets drowning in shadows. That's the Los Angeles of Blade Runner, a place where daylight feels like it never existed. The sky stays heavy with smog and clouds, forcing the city to live under a permanent electric glow. But when you watch a city that never sees the sun, what happens to you? Do you start feeling more isolated or strangely more alert, like the night itself is keeping you awake? That tension is exactly what the creators wanted. By stripping away the comfort of daylight, they made every scene heavier, more mysterious. And that trick didn't stop here. From the Fifth Element to countless cyberpunk worlds, the eternal night became a rulebook for how to build futures that feel alive and suffocating all at once. Fact 12. Costumes were film noir. Meets street market. Deckard doesn't just hunt replicants, he looks the part. A trench coat draped heavy on his shoulders, a tie pulled tight, shoes worn from the streets. His style mixes sharp detective cool from old black and white movies with fabrics and textures that feel grabbed straight from a busy market stall. Gritty but sleek. Classic but street. Clothes in Blade Runner were like history stitched into fabric. A jacket could tell you someone lived on the edge of the city, and a glowing scarf hinted at nights spent under the lights. The costume designers built a whole world without a single word of dialogue. That urban noir vibe still inspires movies, games, even modern streetwear. Put on Deckard's coat, and suddenly you're stepping into a story bigger than yourself. But what about those cars racing past in the rain? Were they just movie magic, or something more real? Let's find out in the next one. Fact 13. The spinner cars could actually drive. The flying police cars of Blade Runner weren't just camera tricks. For scenes on the ground, the crew built full-sized working vehicles. These spinners rolled onto the set with flashing lights, futuristic curves, and engines humming, giving the actors something real to step into before movie magic lifted them into the sky. That choice made the world feel heavier, more tangible. When Deckard leaned against a spinner or chased through the streets, it looked authentic because it was real. No shortcuts, no empty props, just craftsmanship that made the future believable. In our time, directors look back at those builds as proof. Sometimes the best sci-fi doesn't come from CGI, but from putting real wheels on the ground. Fact 14. Philip K. Dick approved the vision. Eventually, to be honest, at first, Philip K. Dick wanted nothing to do with Hollywood. He thought they'd water down his bizarre, unsettling story and turn it into just another shiny sci-fi flick. But then he caught a glimpse of the film's cityscapes, the smog, the neon haze, the endless shadows, and it hit him. This was his world, pulled straight from the pages of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? For an author who spent his career doubting reality itself, that moment was rare. He admitted the filmmakers had nailed the look and spirit of his imagination. His blessing gave the movie a credibility boost no studio note or critics' review could match. What started as hesitation ended as validation. The man behind the story finally saw his own nightmares and dreams lit up on screen. And with that, Blade Runner stopped being just an adaptation and became a vision stamped with its creator's approval. Fact 15. From flop to blueprint, and finally the last fact. Hard to believe, but Blade Runner actually bombed in the first run. The reaction was mixed. Half of the crowd praised its vision, the other half left scratching their heads. But time flipped the script. It started as a so-called failure and ended up rewriting the rulebook for sci-fi itself. Look at the fingerprints it left behind. Akira's sprawling cities, Minority Report's tech-heavy future, Elysium's chaotic skylines, all built with DNA borrowed from Blade Runner. Even video games drenched in neon and rain owe their mood to this once misunderstood classic. Almost every modern sci-fi world carries a piece of it. That mix of grit, mystery, and neon wonder became the standard. This was once dismissed as too dark, too strange, too risky, and is now the very definition of cyberpunk cool. From flop to framework, Blade Runner didn't just last, it became immortal. So tell me, was Blade Runner just a movie ahead of its time? Or was it basically a crystal ball predicting our future? Which fact blew your mind the most? And which one did you already know? Drop your thoughts in the comments because we love hearing from the true sci-fi brains out there. And hey, like, subscribe, and hit that bell